Hello and welcome to AM Guitar with me, Anjay. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about having the courage to modify pedals. Now, a while back I did a video about modifying a DS1 and all you needed to do was a pair of scissors or wire snips. And it was just removing one diode and it opened the pedal up to having slightly less distortion but more volume and slightly less fizz on top. Well, I then carried on modifying it by changing the diodes for LEDs, which gave it again a different tone, taking out a few bits that affected the mid-range, and then eventually adding this extra knob to help me play with the mid-range a bit more. None of it was very hard. I needed to do a little bit of research into what did what, and a little bit of experimentation. But I thought it was a starting point for me beginning to modify other pedals. So, for instance, the Miss Neck pedal from Yanis, in the review I said I felt there was too much bass, so I changed it. I put a little switch in that's on the side now that flicks between the original bass EQ and a new capacitor that reduces the bass and takes a little bit of the gain off it to make it play with pedals better, other pedals stacking into it. And you don't need much to be able to do that. You need a soldering iron with a variable temperature control, very important, because if it's too hot it'll damage the board or the components. Something to cut wire with and strip wire with. Something to remove solder. This is a plunger that you heat up the solder, stick that on there and go boom, takes off. Some solder, a pedal you want to modify is. So the first thing, you need the pedal that you can modify. So like I said, DS1's a really good starting point. Some instructions. There are loads and loads of resources available. I'm going to put a load of links down below for how to modify pedals. And DS1 especially has got a lot of modifications you can do. You can even buy mod kits on eBay to do certain things with them, which are superb. You'll probably need some help and resources, you know, Facebook groups, friends. I've got great friends who make pedals who give me all kinds of advice. Again, links down below to some of that. And some components. Now, you can go on eBay and buy it. So once you've decided what you want, you can go on eBay and buy them. I've also got lots of, I have a graveyard of dead pedals, which I take components off as and when I need them as well. So you need the bits to replace. You need to understand what you're going to replace, and you also need to work on your soldering technique. So what I did is I got an old board, and I just got used to taking components out by you need a sharp point on your soldering iron, taking components out, and then putting them back in, and just putting a little dab of solder on the end of the soldering iron onto the spot to make sure it's held in place, rather than flooding the whole board with solder, which is what I did previously. Just so that you get clean solder points, because what you don't want, and this is one that I previously made, this was from a kit, what you don't want is solder that kind of looks like great big splodges, because what you end up doing is you end up just connecting things you shouldn't connect. Another really useful thing to get is a multimeter, just so you can test to see where components connect. So if you can set it up so that you can hear with a beep if there's current going between 2 points, so you know that you've got the connections correct. But yeah, practice your soldering, get the information you need for the modification you want to make, or seek out someone who may make pedals or something and can give you a bit of advice on what to play around with. And I'd say dive in. Do not take a Strymon, like a really expensive pedal, and start soldering it. Cheap second-hand pedals. Start with something that you don't mind destroying. So this one was, like I said, I didn't mind losing that. This was a cheap Tube Screamer clone off eBay, which I didn't mind destroying. This I was a little sadder about. This was the Mosky Golden Horse, but my own fault. I destroyed the op amp. That's something else you can do quite easily as well. A lot of pedals have what's called an op amp. So this little chip here, you can see that one just there. And quite often they aren't soldered to the board. They're in like a little mounting widget that's soldered to the board, and you can literally just lift them out and replace them with other op amps. So again, if you're looking at maybe just changing the tone of something or changing how much gain it has, look into whether people have changed the op amps on them to make them sound a bit different. And you don't even have to worry about soldering then or damaging the pedal. You can just lift it out, plug a new one in, see if you like it. Should you go modifying pedals? Absolutely, if you want to. For me, it was about getting different tones out of pedals I owned that weren't quite cutting it for me. So this one, didn't like the distortion, didn't like the mids. Now I actually really like this pedal. The Misnex, love the pedal, but too much bass, so modify it to change where the bass was. I've even made some component changes in slightly more expensive pedals, op amps, just to clean them up a little bit more, where maybe the op amp wasn't an expensive one, wasn't, maybe as clean as I wanted it to be. Very, very easy. Like I said, bit of practice, get one you don't mind breaking just to practice with and see what happens when you change components. Get onto the internet, do some research, check the links below for some of the stuff that I've used and people that I've spoken to, Facebook groups, that kind of thing. And yeah, dive in. Doesn't cost much. You can get a soldering kit for £15 off eBay, off Amazon. You can get all the bits that you need to get started. Dig in, have a go, make yourself some fun modifications. And if you really want to get into it, why not go to somewhere like Jed's Peds and get yourself an actual pedal kit where you can make your own pedal out of the components that they send you. Or take it one step further and start making your own stuff, which is, I keep being tempted, but I haven't got the patience. So yeah, hints, tips, anything you can think of that may be useful to the community. Obviously, disclaimer, if you break your pedal, I will not take responsibility for you damaging the things that you have decided to do by yourself. Definitely on you, all right? Until next time, though, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.